Hello and welcome to Beyond the Black Rims Live. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
And like I just said, we're live. This is episode 20.
20!
Yay!
Yay! In Japan, we can drink.
And smoke. It's the same age, you know.
Wonder why they don't do that here.
You didn't know that, did you?
Well, I just didn't care about the smoking part.
Oh, I don't care about either, so... Ha! One up on you!
But I don't do either. Ha ha!
I don't either! That's why I don't care.
So then nobody's one-upped. We're even.
You know, why are we even talking about this?
Because we're 20.
I'm
The
27.
Well, so am I, but the show is 20.
And next week it'll be 21. What's your point?
It's growing up.
Very quickly, too.
Very quickly. Like, by weeks.
In any case, so thanks for hanging out with us tonight, you guys. Obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, it's not as live as it once was.
Right.
But that's okay. You can still catch another live episode once every 10 episodes. We're considering, once we figure out where we want to end as a season, then moving on to doing it live more regularly. We've talked about that before. I don't really know what situation would cause that to happen or when we would start doing that, but I actually enjoy doing it live.
Oh, no, I like doing it, too. It's nice having the fan interaction here in the stream.
And yeah, tonight, admittedly, is Game 7 of our local San Antonio Spurs versus the Miami Heat. I only care so much! Yeah! And we're doing it right now at the same time as Spurs game is starting.
Well, thankfully the show only runs an hour, so people will still have plenty of time to go watch the rest of the game.
Which I guess we probably will too.
We probably will too, at which point I guess this is a forwarding thing. Should the Spurs happen to win tonight, there is a very large possibility that through Kalen's YouTube channel we will try and stream the madness in downtown San Antonio as people flood the streets to celebrate.
I'll find a means to stream live, whether it's through YouTube or whatever. Here's the weird thing, you know, Twitch it spawned off of Justin.tv, and like last year when we drove out to Anime Expo to go to California for Anime Expo, I was able to use a phone app for Justin.tv, and I was able to stream, like, the whole dang trip, and now...
It was a little awesome, to be honest, at some parts with the fire.
Oh, man, live fires? That was great. But for some reason now, they no longer support the Android app.
So I don't get why they would do that.
I don't know. It was a dumb app anyway. It could only ever connect to either Wi-Fi or 3G networks and not 4G networks at all. It was dumb. So I'm not going to be streaming live on my Twitch channel. So that sucks. I'll find another means, though, if the Spurs win. And that would be the only reason why I care about the sport, because then all of the city will go crazy, and it'll be fun and scary. I went downtown in, what was it, 2007? And that was a sight to behold, I can tell you that much.
I barely went to the next major street over from where I live, and it was already a flood of cars going down the street just honking, and people yelling out the windows and holding their team shirts up.
Woo! Go local sports team! Woo!
Yes.
In any case, I guess let's talk about what we're actually here to talk about tonight.
Because we are having a show.
There is a very interesting anime that had just recently been lost and found. It's the oldest known surviving anime, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about how old that is and what they're going to be doing with it later on.
I'm going to be talking about information and news relating to the recent show at the Licensing Expo 2013 having to do with Power Rangers Super Mega Force and kind of the response that's gotten.
And finally, so the Xbox One, many people had backlash about what they wanted to do with DRM and connecting to the internet all the time, and now Microsoft is like, you guys don't like that? Okay, never mind, we didn't say that.
And so we're going to be talking about that.
other than that, do we have any follow-up sort of information to anything we've talked about in the past?
We have a couple of follow-ups. For some people who... I know some people have been asking here in the stream and might not be aware of it. Some people were wondering if we were going to talk about Man of Steel having come out. If you go to my channel on YouTube /JoshKnight1st, we just loaded our vlog on our thoughts on Man of Steel. It runs about the same length as one of our shows here, just maybe a minute or two longer.
It's an hour-long vlog, yeah, admittedly. But, yeah, man, we were passionate about our opinions on the movie. So, there you go. It's live on his channel right now, and feel free to go check it out. I'll provide another link in the YouTube description of this video once it goes up on YouTube, so that you guys can go and just click on it easily and not have to type in Josh Knight the First.
Yeah. And the other thing being, it's kind of an older story to go back to, but it's still relevant now. As a follow-up, 20th Century Fox has officially announced a release date for Independence Day 2.
I don't really want it.
I don't want it more than you do, and I loved the original. It should have stayed the way it was.
It was perfect as just its own
standalone,
standalone thing. No. I'm sorry.
I know.
I'm sorry for you.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for me, but I'm sorry for you.
Yeah. Because you know what worries me the most about this, and just looking at, movies and how they've been doing lately was really what brought this out in my mind. It's, 20 years later, right? In the original movie, Will Smith's Captain Hiller had an adopted son, and now it's older. What if the son gets played by Jaden? And then we have, After Earth 2. Do not want.
I know that Will Smith loves his son, and he loves making movies with his son, and he loves making sure his son makes movies, but no. I'd rather not. No. What's this about the studio also moving back some video game adaptations?
Yes, 20th Century Fox is also doing Assassin's Creed, and I guess we haven't directly talked about that on the show, but they're doing that. And that's being pushed back to May 22nd from May 22nd, I should say, to June 19th of next year. And that's going to be starring...
2015.
Yeah, so next... Well, no, 2 years from now. I'm sorry. I keep thinking it's a year ahead than what it is.
You just wish.
Well, yeah, admittedly, I feel better about Assassin's Creed having not been touched yet than Independence Day, which shouldn't be touched.
Well, I suppose there is some hope for Assassin's Creed, because Assassin's Creed can kind of do a lot of different things.
Yes.
But in any case, I guess that's about it for these kind of follow-up topics.
Yeah, so let's get right into tonight's show.
Alright, so as I was mentioning earlier, news broke a little earlier on Anime News Network earlier this week that they've discovered the oldest surviving Japanese TV anime. It's a show called Mogura no Adventure. And it's not even a full show, I don't believe. I believe it's just a one-shot, 8-minute, 53-second thing. It's color, as far as I can tell, because they've revealed some screenshots of it. It came out in 1958? Yeah, October 15th, 1958. It's really interesting. I'd really like to see it. It's apparently animated with paper cutouts,
like South
Park once was, and now they just sort of simulate the way they
using computers now.
I find different kinds of animation like that really fascinating, quite honestly. And actually, I guess tomorrow they're going to be re-airing it on the channel Animax. So I'd be really interested, and hopefully it makes it online somewhere else, I would hope. Just because it's so interesting to find something so far lost, and nobody had seen it in more than 50 years, and it was just sitting around in somebody's garage or storage until now. And before that, the oldest thing they had found was was something from 1960 called Atarashi Doga Mitsu no Hanashi. And it was only in black and white, and, you know, still fairly old, but, and even then, it's just so cool to see something unearthed from so long ago.
A relic, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, when you say anime over here, as far as this is concerned, this is the oldest, to put it a certain way, a Japanese cartoon in existence?
The oldest one that has still somehow managed to survive. It's not the oldest thing that was ever created. The oldest commercially released anime film, according to this article, was released in 1917, called Imokawa Muzoku the Doorman. And apparently no copy of that has survived.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
That's what I mean by surviving. Like, nobody knows where any copy of that is.
So, like, stuff was either deteriorated or just lost to time.
Right. It would be similar to, like, let's say, if somebody actually managed to find classic Doctor Who episodes that no longer exist. And they go, well, we know it exists, we just don't know where it is anymore because we destroyed it, or
it got destroyed.
Yeah. So it's kind of an exciting find like that.
Okay, yes.
Like, oh man, this existed and now we don't have it anymore.
So Animax, you said, is going to be airing this
tomorrow night. Yeah.
All right, tomorrow night. What happened? Like, who takes custody of this footage?
That's a good question. I know it originally aired on NTV over in Japan. I would assume Animax just obtained the broadcasting rights, but I don't know if they have ownership of the material. I have no earthly idea how they would decide who owns the piece.
Because two questions come to mind when I think about something like this. One, this is very important to their culture to have found something that's still surviving.
Yeah, and to kind of put it into perspective, the very first half-hour anime, Astro Boy, is only 50 years old right now.
Right.
This is older than Astro Boy, and Astro Boy was released in black and white initially. It wasn't released in colors. This is substantial, yeah.
So the two things being, one, how lucky is it that the dude who found it knew what he got his hands on? And two, this needs to go in some sort of a museum.
Well, one, I think it actually was found within a studio. So some film, it's not like it belonged to some dude who was just holding it up in his garage. Like, I think it was part of, like, stacks and stacks and stacks of
film,
unlabeled film and stuff.
Okay, so it wasn't
that's the way I'm understanding it.
See, because the last thing I would want to hear about this is that it was a case of, like, property wars, where some people were like, okay, I'll take this one, hi, and then you look in there, oh, and then, they open it up, and then they find this relic.
And then they just sit on the title because they know how much it's worth.
Right.
No, I don't believe that it was anything like that.
Because I think if anything like that happened over here, like...
Yeah, it was in a warehouse in NTV's Ikuta Studio in Kawasaki City. Hey, that's where I used to live, within Kawasaki.
Okay.
So I guess actually it still belongs to NTV, because it was in their studios.
Okay, so it's still custodian to the studio.
I would imagine so, yes.
That makes me feel...
Unless the license ran out on...
I guess, is it the same thing in Japan that it is here? Possession is 9/10 of the law?
Their laws are very much written to look like ours. Our two sets of laws are not all that different from one another.
Well, because the two people it could either belong to
Copyright is almost exactly the same between
Okay, then
our two
it's
countries.
either the studio's property or the property of the dude who found it.
Well, I would imagine that the only people who went in there would be employees of the studio, unless they had some anime researcher go in like, hey, can I, like, dig around in your studio? And even then, I don't think it would just belong to that guy just because he found it.
Yeah, possibly.
No, I'm pretty sure it still belongs to NTV.
because I'm thinking if somebody over here had found it, you know, they would have held on to it and definitely been like, "Who wants it?" and then sold it
to the highest bidder.
To the highest bidder for whoever wanted it, and then that guy could have been a complete creep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, versus here where they very honestly like, "Oh, this is important. Let's make sure this gets over to be seen."
Well, it seems like that's what's happening, because it wasn't found all that long ago, and now they're immediately gonna air it on Animax July 20th at 7 p.m. as part of the...
Wait, today's July 20th.
Excuse me, the 21st.
Okay.
The 21st is part of the TV anime 50 Nen no... Kinjito special.
Okay.
Not entirely sure what that is.
I like that some people in the chat here are saying, was the Ark of the Covenant next to this piece of film?
If it was, they'd probably be like, it doesn't have any anime in it. I guess really that's all I can elaborate on for the time being. Unless you can think of like anything else that has been lost to time that you wish still existed.
I'm trying to think of stuff that has been lost to time, because it's rare that you get the chance to find stuff like this. Like, it's not the same thing, but the closest approximation I had was, I don't know that many years ago people remember this, there was this show on Fox called Mantis.
I remember Mantis.
Yeah, Mantis was freaking awesome. Mantis starred Carl Lumbly, who some people know better as the voice of the Martian Manhunter on Justice League, but he was this guy, you know, bound to a wheelchair, but he was a scientist, so he figured out how to have this suit, you know, basically be this exoskeleton for him, and he fought crime in it. And for years, like, the series was lost until a couple of years ago when, you know, out of nowhere they're like, "Oh yeah, full DVD release, $25, go ahead." It's
okay.
Like, I thought it was lost. Give it to me. And, well, I still haven't gotten it yet, but I'm working on it. That's the important part.
I don't think you can have that "give it to me" story and then...
say that I don't have it.
And then follow it up with "you never got it."
Yeah.
I think you should feel ashamed now that you...
Well, it's still something that I thought was lost to time that eventually we got back. Now, thankfully, we live in a time now where some things that people thought we'd never see again are getting released. Like, you say, Shout Factory is finally going to release Ultra Q.
Yeah.
And that hadn't gotten a release.
Not over here.
Here at all.
Shout Factory, I love that Shout Factory releases the things that they do.
Yes.
I just think their DVD encoding is really shoddy at best. I've seen it on a number of their prints. From my Gem DVDs to my Reboot DVDs, just shoddy, unfortunately. But
for me, I'm just glad to have the product.
At least it exists, admittedly.
Like, I made the conscious decision because some people were like, well, they're announcing Power Rangers coming out on DVD in this full set. You know, aren't you going to get it? And I'm like, no. And it's like, why? Well, one, I don't have that much money at the same time, but two, to really support this thing, the grittier thing is to spend more money purchasing them at the store to give the full push to, that's how much I love this series, that I'm willing to pay extra for this thing that I have been waiting 20 years to get.
I wouldn't pay extra for DVDs from a company that I know produces shoddy DVDs, and that's just me. But I'm pretty sure you throwing your money at them at all shows that you want. I think that's a very silly thing to say you would pay extra money for when the product does in fact exist legally from the exact same company at a lower price. I'm sorry,
I love Power Rangers.
That is very silly.
Call it silly, but silly. That's something I agreed I would do.
Okay.
And you know what? That kind of goes into the next thing we're going to talk about.
Alright, fine. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is actually something you got a stake in as well from other posts earlier this week.
Uh-huh.
So, the Licensing Expo 2013 was just this past week, and that's where they showcase all of the different licensing properties that are going to come up. for the coming year. Things like Godzilla, the next Fast and the Furious movie, the next Lego movie that they're coming out with, things of that nature. And one of the things was a booth by Saban where they were promoting Power Rangers Super Mega Force.
I still think that's a really stupid name, by the way. Super Mega.
Yes, Super Mega. Followed next season by the Go Busters adaptation Power Rangers Hella Hyper Force. But, that's neither here or there. What? I didn't come up... I came up with that name, but I didn't come up with Super Mega Force. Point being, they had some suit actors there in the... what Super Sentai fans would recognize as the Gokaiger suits, posing, taking pictures and whatnot, and a little bit of footage was shown there. It hasn't made its way online just yet, but they're basically going to be showing some stuff for this next season having to do with the what's referred to as the Legend War, how they're going from the actors to the Megaforce suits to coming up to now the Gokaiger suits to be Super Megaforce. That from what I'm understanding, they're completely dropping the whole I transform into this one to transform into this one to transform into this one.
Thank God.
Which
that sounded really stupid.
Yeah, that sounded retarded, if I may say. But aside from that, so we'll just be pure Gokaiger transforming into older Rangers, as far as suits go.
Good, because that would have been more work than necessary, I would imagine.
I don't know why they thought that was a good idea to begin with, but then again, there's been a lot of that going around, people thinking something's a good idea, only to realize it's not.
So they're legitimately going to be using the keys and the phone.
Yes, they're going to be legitimately using this stuff. The Megazords, oh yes, you've got your Gokai Yellow key here.
Flip, and now it's a key, and I don't know what I did with my phone. It's around here
It's in your drawer. Yeah. Thank you for doing the whole transformation. I applaud. And now people can see that you did that. So, really what we wanted to talk about tonight was the biggest problem that has come up isn't the fact that Saban is doing this. It's the outcry of the Super Sentai fans who are aware of this footage, and on message boards, wherever this news is getting posted, and also on Nick's Nickelodeon's Facebook page, people are decrying that they're doing this, already saying that it's bad.
But
nothing has aired yet.
But at the same time, isn't it like, haven't you been watching Power Rangers?
Right.
Like, what did you think they were doing before? Did you think they were filming entirely new footage this whole time?
Well, see,
and
that's
not borrowing from Super Sentai already? What did you think was happening?
Well, because see, here's some stuff that we got to take into consideration here. Now that we know a little bit more about what Super Megaforce is going to be doing, there's some stuff that people just have to accept. Yes, they're still going to do, and there's some stuff that they can't do anymore, or not do as well. Case in point being, since they did not bring back, as far as we know, anybody from Power Rangers Ninja Storm. In Gokaiger, there was the companion episode over there where the Gokaigers gave the powers back to the Hurricanegers, and they had a team-up episode, which was one of the better episodes, honestly. But over here, they can't necessarily do that.
Well, I mean,
a full team-up as the stock footage would show. And the thing is, that episode was important because they also got another addition to their mech.
Yeah, well, how much has in the past gotten lost between Super Sentai and Power Rangers anyway? I mean, come on, let's be honest.
On average, we lose about half of what Sentai has in terms of stock footage.
So yeah, that's
here.
sad, but that's not anything new. I mean, think about it.
Well, the reason
of Super Sentai over here wouldn't even know what Super Sentai is if it were not for Power Rangers to begin with.
This is very true. This is fact.
What is the problem?
Well, it comes down to this, because there's this, and, it speaks to a bigger issue. There's this disjunct between people who started with Power Rangers, much like myself, and back then Saban's Master Rider, because that's all that was out there. And then later on down the road, for me in college, when I first started out, I found out, hey, wait a minute, these shows aren't initially from here. They're from somewhere else. They're from Japan. I better look into this. And then you find out more and more and more about it, and then, I guess for somebody like me, you become more enamored with what's offered there. Not the same storylines. It's costumes and mech you recognize, but then you realize there's this whole other storyline. But then the problem that comes with that is this sense of both entitlement and superiority.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for a fact that when I was first starting out as a Tokusatsu fan, I'm not going to lie, I was kind of a dick to other people who didn't know about what this stuff was.
Now, I admit when I decided to spot out Zyuranger in particular because it was what Power Rangers Mighty Morphin took the first time. And I became enamored with Zyuranger because I legitimately thought, wow, this is actually a really good show. But it was a completely different show. It wasn't that it was a better show. I mean, although I enjoy it now as an adult better than Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Either way, they're both kid shows.
Right.
But, I mean, please continue.
Well, it's kind of, I'll look at it this way. When I first started out really getting into Super Sentai, my first Super Sentai was Geki Ranger. So I knew that eventually following the pattern, they were going to bring it over here. And they brought it over here, as people know, as Power Rangers Jungle Fury. Now, granted, that's not to say I had a bias against Jungle Fury. Jungle Fury honestly had bad writing and messed with gimmicks and did all this other stuff that didn't quite match up. But that's a completely different argument. I still understand one, they are both for kids, but one has its own flavor and one has another flavor. And they are to be seen as, yes, two different sources of entertainment which have footage in common. And that's about it. So when it comes down to it, when you're talking to somebody else about, oh, you're watching Power Rangers, hey, did you know this? Check yourself, really is what it comes down to. Because if you really want somebody to enjoy it, the best thing is to watch yourself, to not let it get to a point where you can off-put somebody. And this is something we've talked about other fandoms, too. That sometimes I guess I'd use the phrase zealousness gets in the way of enjoying the show.
Now, if I may say so, you are not so much like this anymore. Though there was a point where you were very similar to a lot of other people that I have seen even recently, where the only thing that a person the only way they knew how to refer to Super Sentai, because they weren't very clear on using the word Super Sentai, the only thing they knew to call it was Japanese Power Rangers.
Yeah.
And you had to be on them like white on rice. Actually.
Yeah, I was that.
And you're not so much anymore. But, man, it's like, if somebody doesn't know a thing, and granted, fandom is like this for all different kinds of fandoms, okay? Not just Tokusatsu, not just Kamen Rider and Super Sentai. But man, I feel really strongly that people are really mean to one another in the Tokusatsu fandom really hard, and are very unhelpful to one another, to people who don't know what a thing is and don't know how to get into it and don't know even what to look for. They just kind of go, oh, you don't know what this thing is? Wow, you're stupid. And then they laugh, and then they post face-palming macros all over the place, and I'm just like, man, you guys are so mean to your fellow nerd. And they just asked a question. They see a Kamen Rider and they ask, is that a Power Ranger? And then people go, oh, why do I even bother? And then they don't help them. That bothers me so much.
Like, I look at it this way. Back when I was trying to get some people into Kamen Rider Den-O, I went about it completely different from what I had done with other older series like Kabuto or Black or things like that. The way I described it to them was as such, like, oh, you're familiar with Power Rangers, right? You know it came from Japan, right? No, I didn't know that. Yeah, hey, I like this other show that's kind of similar, but it's a little funnier in a certain way. You want to see an episode real quick? Yeah, I guess. And then, just kind of walk them through it. not necessarily forcing information like, okay, this is the Denliner, and these are the Imogen, and this is what they do, and watch what they do, it's so funny. Like, no, back up a second. Just let them experience.
Let me figure out what I'm even looking at to begin with.
Yes.
Like, if I may say so, some people are saying in the chat, for example, that Tokusatsu is so niche that there are, of course, those really vocal people who otherwise kind of drive the newbies out. And I know I'm gonna be a little picky when I name drop TV Nihon for a second. Now, there is something to be said about you have your choice between fan subbing groups. The only other problem, aside from the fact that I, stylistically don't really like TV Nihon, and they also do a relatively bad job at translating, I mean, take that as you will. Aside from that, because they are so insular, I suppose is a word that I'm looking for, about how they subtitle and how they don't fully translate things and how they sort of feed their own community with in-jokes and untranslated special moves, and like, it doesn't help those fans then go out into the world and be like, so this is what a Hisatsu something or other is, and like, people are gonna be like, what are you even talking about? I just don't even know. It doesn't really help people.
Right.
Well, other than that, stylistically, once you get into the fandom, you can choose whatever subs you want. But I think that's the inherent problem with noobs getting into TV Nihon.
I'll give credit where credit is due. I started with TV Nihon subs.
Well, at the time, there was nobody else doing it.
Right, they were the only ones in the game. And it was like that for years until, I guess maybe, 3-4 years ago, something like that. And then we had other groups pop up. And then from there, it's a matter of kind of what you have to look into, and a lot of people don't really take this into account, is what kind of a fan do you want to be? Mm-hmm. Do you want to be somebody who's going to drive off other people that you could genuinely share this enjoyment of this, children's television and entertaining children's television show with? Or are you going to just keep to yourself and the one or two people that you can talk to about it, and it doesn't get anywhere, it doesn't grow?
Because think about this. Let me repeat what you just said. It's a children's television show.
Right.
And for the most part, the people that we're talking to are adults. There's some people who are young adult, but even then, you're still an older audience than most people who go out on the internet and try and find these children's television show. It's an older audience than the target audience. Mm-hmm. Well, what do you people think you're doing by getting mad at people who don't understand where this children's television show came from? What are you even doing?
And it's something funny to think about, because now we have shows like Akiba Ranger, where it's officially made by Toei, but the characters in it, and I'm talking specifically about the Akiba Rangers, they're meant as both a reflection of the community that they themselves are aware they created, but at the same time, they can also see, like, hey, do you guys see how you act? Mm-hmm. And not just them, but some of the other otaku that they show getting affected by the monster every week. You know, it's this very tongue-in-cheek sort of way of going about it, and you can either get it like, oh, I see what you're saying, okay, I gotcha, or you can completely miss it, but you're still entertained.
That's the thing about Akiba Ranger, is that it, one, speaks to the uber tokusatsu fan, like, you guys get it, because you guys are like this, and you like it when we talk about things that you know and you understand, but then there's the flip side of it, like, we're also making fun of you, you know, because you guys are crazy. You are that crazy. And I don't know if everybody who watches it gets that.
I get it, but I still enjoy it, because I'm the more I learn, the more I like that I get the references. Like, oh, I know that suit actor, or, oh, yeah, I remember that attack, or, oh, yeah, I remember that costume,
I'm just
or that
saying
insignia.
It's playing two different jokes.
It's playing to multiple audiences on multiple levels, and really, it all comes back to the same thing that we always try to bring it back to, is fandom. Mm-hmm. You know, so to all the tokusatsu fans out there, be excellent to one another.
Be excellent to each other.
Yes, and let's work together on this and make a better community.
And you can say that about any community, but really Tokusatsu needs a lot of help.
And we're hoping. We wish. And that's what I gotta say about that.
Okay, so I want to talk about video games.
Video games.
I hope I'm talking about video games because it's the Xbox One, so I'm not so sure.
Now, people were wondering if we were going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. Microsoft has developed the new nickname, the Microsoft 180, with the news that, hey, all that stuff that we announced about having to get online and register your games, and you have to be connected to the internet.
Oh, never mind.
My bad.
So you guys didn't think that was new and innovative? I'm sorry. Will you forgive me if I also give you region free?
Well, see, here's the thing I'm thinking about. Like, this announcement was just made, what, yesterday, the day before? Yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
And the news, of course, spread like wildfire. You know, Microsoft removes Xbox One DRM, and the peasants rejoice. But at the same time, Yay. But is this too little too late? Even if it's exactly what people asked for.
Oh, they never had me to begin with, and no, it doesn't save it for me. I still would rather pick up the PS4 on launch day than the Xbox One. After all, I still don't want a machine that thinks that it's going to be my entire living room. That's not what I want to buy a video game console for. I want to buy a video game console to play video games. That's why I always stuck with Nintendo for so long, because they were like, we are still making a toy.
Right.
That's what this machine does. It's a toy that plays games.
Well, the thing about it here is that, you know, they say they're going to do all this stuff. Nobody liked it. And then, you know, they have to 180 on it, otherwise they realized how much money they were going to lose. But making this announcement, I don't think will pull up enough for them to go crashing into the ground with this.
No, because it's obviously this about face where, you know, they previously stated they were trying real hard, even hearing people say that they didn't like what Microsoft was choosing to do with the Xbox One. Even after that, they were still going, no, guys, you don't understand what we're trying to do. We're trying to be innovative. We're trying to... Really?
Well, no, because it's the fact that you don't realize you're being an idiot, and you're defending the fact that you don't realize you're being an idiot. That doesn't make me trust you. That makes me realize that you don't realize you're an idiot.
Apparently, there were people in the military who were especially mad at the Xbox One's initial announcement of, you gotta be on the internet, and the people in the military were like, that's atrocious and very anti-American and anti-military, because I can't get good internet over here in the Middle East, or in the middle of the desert. Do you know what we do? We sit here and we shoot things, and then maybe we get to go back to our remote location and enjoy ourselves for a second or two. And
play a little Call of Duty, and you're telling me you're taking that away from me?
Yeah, the military folk were hella pissed.
See that? Microsoft was attacking America.
America.
And you don't mess with America.
Yeah, especially when you're the America console.
Exactly. So why would you do that?
Well, now they're not doing that. But at the same time, it's like, it's not saying, oh, I'm sorry. It's, oh, please come back to us. Oh, please come back to us. Oh, please come back to us.
We'll do anything.
Begging on their hands and knees and nearly offering blowjobs. Very nearly offering blowjobs.
Because here's the thing. Because we have the DRM recalled. You know, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. However, it's not a full apology, because it's like, okay, you guys are trying to make amends for this one mistake you did. You're going to drop the price?
Lol, no.
Well, then you're not sorry. Because I think the real competition would come from getting down and dirty with the PS4 and being like, you know what? Same price. Let's go. And then just see what the numbers say.
Yeah.
Because it's not it doesn't take a genius to figure out if something costs less than the other thing, it is therefore more desirable just on price alone. So I don't think, I guess for the price's sake, that we should give Sony that much credit. That's just no duh.
At the same time, maybe it's that expensive because they're so offering to be my whole living room's worth of entertainment. Being able to say, Xbox, watch live TV, change the channel, Xbox go home.
Xbox
go home.
You're drunk.
Xbox go home is now. I'm sorry. No, very silly. It wants to be my whole living room, you know. So for all that technology that is built into that machine, it's got to drive up the price. I get that, but at the same time, they might make more money if they lower the price and sell more units.
Yeah, right. Units sold versus
units
price
sold
of a
better.
single unit.
Yeah.
And even then, I've heard this argument over and over again for both systems. It's not a matter of what the system can do. Where's the development? Where are the games that make me want to go to this system?
Exactly. Even, it's admittedly a little difficult for me to say I'm 100% ready to throw down money on the PS4 because, I do want games that will be coming out for the PS4, but I don't know about very many games that are coming out at launch that will make me want to buy it before this year is out.
Right.
Same can be said for the 360. There were only a couple of things that looked mildly interesting to me from Microsoft's E3 press conference, and none of those things were things that were going to come out on launch.
Well, see, here's the thing, even with games coming out in general, any game that is coming out this year that could be available on the 180 or the PS4, I'm probably not going to get them for those systems. One, because I don't feel like buying those systems just yet, and two, I already have a perfectly good PS3 available that I will play Arkham Origins or Watch Dogs on, so I still don't feel the need for these systems because I don't see that system being any different than what I've already got.
Things will just look a little prettier.
Well, see, that's even the thing, you yourself, you have a 360 and you have a PS3, right? When it comes to certain titles, say, just throwing it out there, like Assassin's Creed, does it really matter which one you get it for?
The only time it matters to me which console I purchase a game for, it's based on, hey, what console are my friends getting this thing for if it's a multiplayer game? If it's not a multiplayer game, then it doesn't matter. It'll be which one's going to drop the price first, where am I going to be able to, what store will be selling it at what price that will be cheap. It's a matter of price at that point. Usually, of course, when the price drops, it drops for copies on both consoles. Or perhaps it will be, because there will sometimes be exclusives to either the PS3 version or the 360 version. Sometimes it's like, which one has the exclusive that I like better? Usually that doesn't really sway me all that much.
Because even then, after a while, doesn't that stuff just make its way around to the other system anyway?
Usually, yes. It's just
so then it's just a waiting game.
Yeah, it's almost always a matter of the 360 is getting this exclusive first. Oh, first? Well,
first means eventually.
I'll wait.
Yeah.
Then I'll just wait.
It's the same thing with friggin' Arkham City. That was a selling point that, you can play as only these skins for Robin or Nightwing or Catwoman on this one, and then on the 360. Wait, did I say PS4 or 360? Well,
I don't remember.
Well, okay, the PS3 you can only play as these characters. Xbox 360 you could only play as these skins on these characters. It's like, well, which one do you want? That makes it hard.
Yeah, that made it hard at
launch.
At pre-reservation.
Right.
But then it's like, oh, by the way, you can buy all the skins now for anybody, anywhere, at any time. Oh, well then now I don't feel so pressured anymore.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about the purchase of these multi-platformed games, even across the new generation that's about to come out.
Right.
Because very few of those games are going to be exclusive. A few, yeah. And that would... Usually, it's the titles that are only built to be on one system, and I would have to be really interested in that game, that ends up making me buy that system.
Mm-hmm.
I always buy a console based on a game that is exclusive. Or, in the case of the PlayStation 3, I bought it because it was the only console that was doing things region-free.
Right.
And I was like, this is a game I have to play right now.
Built-in Blu-ray was appealing.
It was appealing, but it wasn't the reason why because I could still watch DVDs, and at the time it didn't make any difference because I didn't even have an HD TV. It really didn't matter to me. Region-free is very important to me. And I'm at least happy that Microsoft is like, hey, you like that from Sony? We can do that too! Because Microsoft has never done that.
Right.
So that's new.
And, okay, so basically, wrapping up what we've just said, just to get some hands on it, it doesn't seem like it's apologetic. It seems more of a desperation move.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They still haven't dropped the price, and the games still don't seem like they're there just yet.
They're in development, and some of them look cool, but I don't see a reason to get it at launch. I'm sure somebody has their reason for getting it at launch. I'm not part of that crowd, though.
Then down the road, I mean, there is room for improvement, isn't there?
Oh, of course. I was so anti both the 360 and the PS3 for quite some time, and it took, for me, it took Blue Dragon for me to want to get a 360.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually when there were PS3 games in Japan that I knew I had to play, I was like, alright, now I'll get a PS3. It was out of the desire for a particular game that I purchased those consoles. For me, though, the Wii was an at-launch purchase because I feel like Nintendo, while they're less and less and less, unfortunately, catering to a hardcore audience, they at least still know that their console is being made to play video games. I think if Nintendo ever quit making games, I might quit playing games.
At all?
Perhaps.
Really?
Perhaps. And again, I realize we're starting to kind of lose them. Although they're giving us a new Smash, you know. So.
Well, you've still got the 3DS.
Yeah, of course I do. Love the 3DS.
But that's the thing, though. You're having to rely on the handheld system rather than the actual console.
Well, then again, I was a huge Game Boy fanatic back in the day, too. They were always about handhelds.
Well, as far as Nintendo's concerned, they've seen great success over in Japan with, what was it, Dragon Quest X?
Yeah.
And then over here with friggin' the release of Monster Hunter Tri for the 3DS.
3 Ultimate?
Yeah, 3 Ultimate.
Yeah.
Because everybody I knew got a copy of that game.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. Like, people I didn't even think had 3DSs at my job were like, hey, is that, you hunting? Yeah, how'd you know? And then they'd pull theirs out. I was like, what? Let's go. And it's like, oh, okay. So that bringing that up. And it's the thing, like, I guess the trail of thought I'm running off with there is that Nintendo's got their handheld, Sony's got their handheld that still isn't doing that great with the Vita. Microsoft still hasn't touched a handheld.
I don't know whether or not they should. I really don't know. They have their hands in all kinds of other business because Microsoft wants to do everything and be everything. Like, if they wanted to release a game for handhelds, what they could do is release it on their Windows tablets and phones, and people could be mobile that way. As it is, a lot of the games that end up on the 360 also end up as Windows Live games. I know there's a Windows Live PC version of BioShock, for example.
Right.
I'm just saying they have a Windows Live community. I don't know that they need to necessarily create a video game console, because as it is, they want their home consoles to do everything and go watch TV and do all these other things. Why would they want to build a video game only handheld when they make mobile platforms as it is, being their phones and their tablets, and then you can just put games on those.
The exclusivity of it. Because that's the whole thing about it. You have to get this for this specific, I guess you'd say, what, interface for that? For this specific handheld system. You know, you have to get this disc or this cartridge or this download. It's that tangible, unique thing that only works with this.
I guess I see what you're saying.
Because that speaks more of gaming, being a gamer, that you have this thing that only works for a game.
Yeah, but when they're trying so hard to make their home console do a lot more than just play video games, I don't see them doing that. Now, on top of that, I also don't see them doing it right off the bat this console generation, because they're going to be struggling to see whether or not their console is even a success after they totally just put their heads up their butts and then started to slowly try to peel their head back out of their butts.
Yeah.
I don't see them even trying to dip into that within the next year. I really don't.
Well, maybe not within the next year, but I think that's something they should have considered.
Maybe a couple of years ago, and now maybe in a couple of years, but not right now. Right now would not be the right time. Not at all. I don't see it.
Would you say that at that point, using the analogy of head up your butt, that they're too, quote-unquote, entrenched to even think of such a thing?
Well, they're too balls deep into making sure that it doesn't fail. And if it does start to fail, then they have to inject more Bill Gates money into the thing to make sure it doesn't fail. They don't have the time or the resources to try and also make a handheld at this moment in the game. They really don't.
Well, see, this is what it's come to, at least in my mind, that you would have to think of something completely different, because the one seems to already be failing even before it arrives.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying they have to spend all their focus and all their resources on making sure this console does not fail. They cannot spread their attention to something else right now.
Bottom line, I don't see this thing being anything but DOA when it comes out.
Well, I don't know about DOA. They still have a few months to announce, hey, look what else is coming out at launch. They got a little bit of time, but that's it. I know I'm not going to buy it.
Well, I know I'm not buying it either, but I'm not buying that they're going to be able to get their way out of this one. I'm going on record as saying they're too far gone.
You really think so?
I honestly
too far gone.
I completely believe they're too far gone. And I don't know how many months it'll take before we get the numbers back to prove it, or even, initial reactions.
Just before holiday season.
Okay, so come this, November, December, we'll see just what happens with this thing, and I'm going to go ahead and stick with that.
I see Sony doing better than Microsoft, but I don't necessarily see it being dead on arrival.
That's just the way I see it.
Okay.
I mean, yes, time will tell, but you got to admit, there's not too much forgiveness for, hey, sorry I shot you guys in the face. I'm sorry about that. I'll pay for the bullet getting removed. Are you going to stop pointing the gun at me? No. Then you're not sorry. That's just how I see Microsoft. They're only
as holding a gun to your head.
They're only so apologetic, is what I'm saying.
Okay. I guess that's really about it.
Yeah, that about wraps it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then we're going to wrap up the show.
Yeah.
And if you're, just want to let you guys know, much like last live episodes...
yes, Microsoft is Dick Cheney. That's what I was going for.
Much like last live episodes, if you're here with us live at this given moment in time, we will continue to talk to you guys for a little bit longer, maybe around the half an hour mark. But otherwise, we are cutting it here, and that's all that you guys later on the internet get to see. So that should be incentive for you to come out during another one of our live episodes so you can just hang out and talk with us at the end of the show.
And then just bringing it up again, if you guys want, we'll probably put a link at the bottom for the Man of Steel vlog that we both had a part in. So go ahead and feel free to check that out.
All right, and for you guys who are watching it live, you can rewatch this either here on the Twitch channel, or it's going to be up on my YouTube channel probably either later on tonight or by tomorrow at youtube.com/MarsGirl. As always, follow us on Twitter to get more information about future shows and anything else that we might be up to. Again, I am at MarsGirlProd.
And I'm at Josh Knight First.
And for now, I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap up Beyond the Black Rims episode 20.
So thank you guys for sticking with us for 20 episodes, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.